Let's be honest. Too many conversations about sex leave out the truth about intimacy. We talk about performance, we talk about desire, but rarely do we talk about what it means to truly give. Men who go down on women, not because they want something in return, but because they genuinely care about her pleasure, stand out. They are the most attentive, the most connected, and the most secure in themselves. Because let's face it takes confidence to put your partner first. It takes patience to slow down and focus on every detail of her body. And it takes emotional maturity to understand that intimacy isn't just about release, it's about creating trust and closeness. When a man is willing to do this, he's showing more than just skill. He's showing respect. He's proving that her experience matters just as much as his own. Sexual health isn't just physical. It's emotional, it's psychological, and it's deeply tied to wellness. A man who prioritizes a woman's pleasure is indirectly supporting her overall well-being. When women feel desired, when they feel seen and valued, their confidence grows, their stress decreases, their bond with their partner deepens. This isn't just about sex, it's about health, connection, and balance. Too many men think it's optional. Too many men overlook it. And too many women have been conditioned to accept less than they deserve. That's why I'm here to say it clearly. The men who take the time to give, to please, to learn, and to care, those are the men who stand out from the rest. They're the most confident, they're the most generous, and yes, they're the most unforgettable. So here's the truth. If you want a stronger relationship, if you want a more fulfilling sex life, and if you want to step into a deeper level of intimacy, you need to care about her pleasure as much as your own. It's not a trick. It's not a tactic. It's a choice. And that choice says everything about who you are as a man. So I challenge you, don't just settle for being good in bed. Be the partner who gives. Be the man who listens, learns, and explores. Because in the end, that's what makes you not only memorable, but extraordinary. Generosity and intimacy is often misunderstood because people usually associate it with gifts, grand gestures, or financial support. But in reality, true generosity in the bedroom is about presence and giving without expecting something in return. When a man goes down on a woman, his entire focus shifts away from his own pleasure and locks onto hers. That act alone shows a willingness to slow down, to be patient, and to explore her body with curiosity and care. It tells her, without words, that she is worth his time and energy, and that her experience matters. Women notice this. They notice when someone is tuned in, attentive, and not distracted. This type of generosity sets the stage for real intimacy because it's about more than just the physical act. It's about showing her that her satisfaction is just as important as his. The men who embody this kind of generosity are often the most connected lovers because they understand that intimacy isn't a race. They're not in a hurry to move on to penetration or to rush through foreplay. Instead, they linger, they savor, and they allow the moment to expand. This patience is magnetic because it communicates confidence and care. A woman can feel the difference between someone who is there just to check a box and someone who is there to actually give. That difference changes everything. It changes the way she responds, the way she relaxes, and the way she opens up. When she knows she's not being rushed, she allows herself to feel deeper pleasure, and that only strengthens the connection between them. There's also a psychological element to this that people often overlook. Women carry stress, insecurities, and sometimes even performance pressure into the bedroom too. A man who is generous with oral sex is creating a safe space for her to let go of those concerns. He is saying with his actions, this time is about you. You don't need to perform for me, you just need to receive. That can be powerful. It can transform the way a woman views intimacy, shifting it from an obligation or a routine act into an experience of being nurtured and valued. The ability to give in this way is not only about technique, it's about mindset. It's about having the maturity to know that her pleasure is not a threat to his, but rather something that enhances it. Generosity in oral sex also leaves a long-lasting impression because women remember how they felt in the moment. They remember the man who slowed down and took the time to understand them, not just physically, but emotionally. Every touch, every kiss, every movement becomes part of a memory that tells her she was cared for. That generosity doesn't just affect the bedroom either. It spills into the relationship outside of sex because it builds trust. When a woman knows she is with someone who will take the time to focus on her needs, she feels safer, more connected, and more willing to give in return. That cycle of giving and receiving is what creates a truly fulfilling sexual connection. Confidence in the bedroom is one of the most attractive qualities a man can bring, and it shows most clearly when he is willing to give oral sex without hesitation or discomfort. Many men shy away from it, often because of insecurity, lack of knowledge, or fear of doing it wrong. But when a man approaches it with ease and curiosity, it shows a level of self-assurance that is both rare and magnetic. Confidence here isn't about being arrogant or thinking he already knows everything. It's about being comfortable enough in his own skin to explore her body, to learn from her responses, and to enjoy the act of giving without worrying about how he looks or whether he's doing it perfectly. That sense of comfort makes her feel safe to relax and enjoy the experience even more. When a man is confident enough to focus on pleasuring his partner orally, it communicates something deeper than physical skill. It tells her that he doesn't view her body as intimidating, that he doesn't feel threatened by taking his time, and that he's not worried about losing control of the situation. Instead, he embraces the vulnerability that comes with intimacy. He's willing to put himself in a position where all his attention is on her and none of the focus is on him, and that requires a strong sense of self. Women feel that energy instantly. They can tell when a man is timid or when he's truly present, and they respond far more passionately when they sense his confidence. Another layer to confidence in oral sex is the ability to tune into feedback without feeling insecure. Every woman is different, and what works for one may not work for another. A man who is comfortable in himself doesn't take guidance or adjustment as criticism. He takes it as valuable information that helps him understand her better. That kind of openness is a sign of confidence because it shows he is secure enough to learn and adapt instead of being defensive. For a woman, that can make the experience far more satisfying because she doesn't feel pressured to stay silent or pretend. Instead, she can communicate her needs freely, knowing he is strong enough to handle it. Confidence also heightens the pleasure because it changes the atmosphere of intimacy. A man who is hesitant or distracted creates tension, but a man who dives in with certainty and presence creates excitement. She can let go because she feels guided by his energy. It's not about speed or aggression, but about being sure of his intention and unafraid of the moment. That sense of confidence is contagious. It makes her feel desired, it makes her feel special, and it makes her want to surrender more fully to the experience. In turn, it deepens the bond between them and creates a sexual connection that is not only pleasurable but unforgettable. When a man goes down on a woman, he is sending a message that is far more powerful than anything he could say with words. It tells her that he wants her, that he values her, and that her pleasure is a priority. This kind of attention builds emotional intimacy because it is an act of vulnerability on both sides. She allows him into one of the most private and sensitive parts of her body, and he devotes himself to pleasing her in a way that is selfless and attentive. That exchange naturally creates closeness because it requires trust, and trust is at the heart of every strong sexual and emotional bond. Without trust, intimacy feels mechanical. With trust, it feels alive and deeply connecting. Emotional connection in sex is often overlooked, yet it is what makes the difference between something forgettable and something unforgettable. A man who chooses to focus on oral sex is choosing to connect, not just to perform. He is choosing to create an experience that lingers in her mind long after the physical moment is over. When she feels seen and desired on that level, she begins to associate him with safety, care, and passion. That emotional layering turns sex into more than physical release. It becomes a shared memory that strengthens the bond between them. The more consistently this type of connection is built, the more powerful their intimacy grows over time. Another reason oral sex strengthens emotional connection is that it forces both partners to slow down. Instead of rushing to the end, it creates space for exploration, for savoring the moment, and for paying attention to subtle reactions. She might breathe differently, her body might move in small ways, or her sounds may shift. A confident man notices those signals and responds to them. And in that dance, both partners feel emotionally linked. It is an intimate dialogue without words, and it can often say more than any conversation could. Women crave that kind of attention, not only because it feels good physically, but because it tells them they are being listened to and cared for. This deeper connection doesn't just affect the sexual experience, it affects the relationship outside of the bedroom too. When a woman feels emotionally connected during sex, she carries that closeness into everyday life. She feels more trusting, more secure, and more bonded to her partner. That bond shows up in the way she communicates, the way she supports him, and the way she opens up emotionally. The bedroom becomes a place where that connection is constantly renewed, and oral sex plays a significant role in that renewal. It is one of the clearest ways for a man to say, I want to know you fully, not just physically, but emotionally too. And when she feels that, the intimacy between them grows stronger with every encounter. A woman's sexual health is deeply connected to her overall well-being, and many people underestimate just how powerful consistent pleasure can be. Orgasms are not only about release, they have tangible effects on the body and mind. They help regulate hormones, reduce stress, and improve mood by triggering endorphins and oxytocin, the body's natural feel-good chemicals. When a man takes the time to go down on a woman and bring her to climax, he isn't just giving her a moment of satisfaction. He's actively supporting her physical health in ways that ripple far beyond the bedroom. The act itself becomes part of a larger pattern of care that enhances her daily life. For many women, stress and anxiety can create barriers to intimacy. Daily responsibilities, work, and personal pressures often weigh heavily, making it difficult for them to relax enough to fully enjoy sex. Oral sex, when given with patience and attention, creates an environment where those stresses can melt away. The intensity of the stimulation combined with the feeling of being prioritized allows her to shift her focus from what's on her mind to what she's feeling in the moment. That shift has real health benefits. Lowering stress reduces tension in the body, improves sleep quality, and even supports heart health. In this way, a man who invests time in her pleasure is indirectly helping her body function at its best. Beyond stress relief, regular orgasms can improve circulation and pelvic health, both of which are important for women as they age. A strong pelvic floor supports reproductive health, bladder control, and even posture. Orgasms stimulate the muscles in that area, keeping them active and strong. A man who understands this sees oral sex not as an optional extra, but as a natural part of maintaining her wellness. It's a form of intimacy that doubles as a contribution to her physical vitality. Knowing that her partner cares enough to help her body thrive through pleasure makes the connection even more meaningful. There's also the mental health aspect. Women who experience consistent, satisfying orgasms often report feeling more confident and more connected to their bodies. That self-assurance carries into other areas of life, from relationships to career performance. Oral sex plays a unique role here because it requires her to receive rather than perform. She doesn't have to do anything, she simply allows herself to be pleasured. That act of surrender is powerful because it teaches her to let go of control and embrace vulnerability in a safe way. It fosters self-love by showing her that she deserves care and attention. When a man facilitates that process, he isn't just giving her sexual satisfaction, he's reinforcing her emotional strength and sense of worth in ways that extend well beyond the bedroom. Good oral sex is not about memorizing a set of tricks. It is about paying attention. Every woman responds differently, and the men who excel are the ones who take the time to notice those differences. Technique is important, but technique without awareness falls flat. A man who is truly attentive watches the rise and fall of her chest, notices the subtle changes in her breathing, and feels the way her body tenses or relaxes under his touch. These cues guide him more than any book or tip ever could. That kind of focus requires patience and a willingness to let her body teach him what she enjoys most. It is a form of listening that happens without words. Attentiveness also means being willing to adjust. Too many men get stuck in a rhythm and assume it should always work, but women's bodies are more dynamic than that. What feels good at one moment may not feel the same 5 minutes later. A man who pays attention doesn't see this as frustrating. He sees it as an opportunity to learn and adapt. He can shift pressure, speed, or movement based on how she reacts, and that responsiveness makes the experience far more satisfying. It shows her he is present and engaged rather than just going through the motions. That adaptability is one of the clearest signs of a skilled and thoughtful lover. There is also an emotional layer to attentiveness that many men overlook. When a woman feels that her partner is truly tuned in, she relaxes. She doesn't have to overthink or give instructions constantly because she can sense that he's already reading her body. That sense of being understood without having to explain creates trust and closeness. It makes her feel cared for, and that feeling deepens the intimacy far beyond the physical level. Oral sex then becomes not just about physical pleasure, but about being seen and valued in a way that very few experiences can match. Attentiveness and technique is not only about her body, but also about timing and energy. A skilled man knows when to slow down, when to build intensity, and when to let the moment linger. He knows that rushing robs her of the chance to savor each sensation, while too much hesitation can break the flow. Balancing those rhythms takes practice, but more importantly, it takes awareness. He is not focused on his own satisfaction. He is invested in her journey. That ability to stay tuned into the moment shows discipline and maturity. It demonstrates that he understands intimacy as a shared experience rather than a one-sided act. This level of attentiveness is what transforms oral sex from something routine into something truly unforgettable. What makes oral sex unforgettable is not just the sensation but the memory it creates. A woman will often remember how a man made her feel long after the act itself is over. Men who are generous, attentive, and skilled at giving oral leave an impression that lasts because they have tapped into more than just the physical side of intimacy. They have touched something emotional, something psychological, and something deeply personal. It becomes a moment she replays in her mind because it wasn't just about climax, it was about being cared for in a way that felt unique and meaningful. That memory lingers, and it shapes the way she views him as a lover. Lasting impact comes from the effort and presence a man brings to the experience. When he takes his time and gives his full attention, she feels valued. That is what separates an average experience from one she will never forget. The intensity of oral sex, when done with care, creates a type of vulnerability that strengthens the bond between partners. She remembers not just that he gave her pleasure, but that he wanted to, that he enjoyed it, and that he found joy in her enjoyment. That mutual satisfaction creates a feedback loop of desire and connection, making her crave not just sex, but him specifically. Another reason the impact lasts is because oral sex often allows for deeper, longer, and more powerful orgasms. For many women, this kind of stimulation reaches places that penetration alone cannot. When a man learns how to guide her to that level of release, he sets himself apart from the rest. She doesn't forget the one who gave her a type of pleasure she hadn't experienced before. That uniqueness stays with her and it reshapes her standard for intimacy. Once she has felt what it's like to be with someone who truly knows how to give, it becomes very hard to settle for less again. The memory of oral sex is also tied to the emotional connection it builds. She doesn't just remember what his tongue did. She remembers the look in his eyes, the way he held her hips, the way he responded to her sounds. Those details matter because they weave together physical and emotional intimacy. It's not a technical checklist, but a full-bodied experience where she felt completely present and completely desired. That combination is rare, which is why it leaves such a powerful mark. A woman might forget casual encounters that lack depths, but she won't forget the man who took the time to learn her body, to focus on her pleasure, and to give her an experience that reached beyond the physical.